Have you ever had one of those days where your thoughts feel like they're moving through mud? Like there's this weird haze between you and the world that you just can't seem to shake? Well, that feeling has a name: brain fog. It's super common, but what's really going on inside our heads when that happens? Today, let's play detective. We're going to see if we can piece together the clues and solve the mystery of brain fog.
Wow. That really hits home, doesn't it? This powerful description actually comes from someone living with long COVID, where brain fog is a huge symptom. It just perfectly captures that frustrating, almost invisible feeling of your own mind working against you. And it's this very personal, very real experience that we're going to try and unpack today.
So what exactly is this fog? Medically, it's not actually a formal diagnosis, which is part of what makes it so mysterious. It's what we call an invisible illness. You can't see it on an X-ray, you can't point to it, but its effects are deeply, deeply felt by millions. So let's start by trying to pin down what people actually mean when they say they're in a fog.
Okay, so when we talk about brain fog, we're not just talking about being a little tired or forgetting where you put your keys. No, it's a much deeper cognitive struggle. We're talking about a genuine difficulty in just focusing your attention, trying to plan out your day, or even something as simple as finding the right words in a conversation. It's this fundamental disruption to how we think and process the world. And get this is not a rare thing at all. To give you a sense of the scale here, one study on long COVID patients found that a staggering 88%, almost 9 out of 10 people, experience some form of cognitive dysfunction or memory problems. That just goes to show you how widespread this issue can become, especially when the body is put under some serious stress.
So, where does this fog actually come from? Well, our first clue points to a really surprising culprit: our very own immune system. Let's dig into how the body's defense system can sometimes, turn against the brain.
The key term we need to know here is neuroinflammation. Okay, think of it like this. When you get a cut on your arm, the area gets red and swollen, right? That's inflammation. It's your immune system rushing in to fix the problem. Well, neuroinflammation is pretty much the same idea, but it's happening inside your brain and central nervous system. So here's how it all goes down. It starts when your body detects some kind of threat, let's say a virus. Immediately, the brain's own little immune cells, these tiny guardians called microglia, they just spring into action. They release this flood of inflammatory messengers called cytokines. Now, normally, this is a great thing. It's how you fight off an infection. But the problem starts when this response gets stuck in the on position and just goes on for way too long.
And here's the kicker. This sustained inflammation isn't just a side effect. It has real, tangible consequences. All those cytokines flying around create so much biological noise that they actually interfere with the delicate electrical signals between your neurons. It's like trying to have a conversation in the middle of a rock concert. The very things we need for learning, for memory, for even controlling our emotions, they all get disrupted. The fog starts to make a whole lot more sense when you see it's a physical process. All right, our investigation now turns to our second culprit, and it's one that's pretty much a constant in modern life: stress. And no, it's not just in your head. The hormonal response to chronic, long-term stress can literally, physically change your brain. Now, this is a big one, so listen up. Cortisol is our main stress hormone. In short bursts, it's a lifesaver. It helps us deal with danger. But when we're chronically stressed out, day after day, we're basically bathing our brains in high levels of it. And here's the alarming part. That can actually cause the hippocampus, which is absolutely vital for learning and memory, to shrink. It can cause atrophy.
And this is where it gets really nasty, because it creates this dangerous feedback loop. See, the hippocampus doesn't just form memories. It's also supposed to act like the brakes on our stress response. It tells the body, okay, chill out, the danger's over. So when high cortisol damages it, the brain loses its ability to hit those brakes. This leads to even more cortisol, which leads to more damage, and you're stuck in this vicious cycle that can be incredibly hard to escape.
The final piece of our puzzle involves something we all do, or at least try to do, every single day: sleep. The thing is, our modern lifestyles, with all the screens and crazy schedules, have basically declared war on our natural sleep rhythms, and our brains are paying a heavy price for it. We're actually facing a two-pronged attack on our mental clarity here. On one side, you've got the blue light from our screens at night. That light actively suppresses melatonin, the sleep hormone, and basically screams at our brain that it's still daytime. That just wrecks our sleep quality. Then, on the other side, you have sleep inertia. That's that intense grogginess and disorientation you feel right after you wake up. Both of these are major contributors to that foggy feeling.
So that leads to a really fascinating question.
We all know pulling an all-nighter is terrible for you, right? But what about that cognitive hit you take from that intense, can't-think-straight grogginess of sleep inertia right when you wake up? Which one do you think actually messes with your performance more? Well, the answer is pretty shocking, actually. Studies have shown that in those first few moments right after waking up, the cognitive impairment from severe sleep inertia can actually be worse than the impairment you'd have after being awake for over 24 hours straight. Yeah. That groggy feeling isn't just a feeling. It's a state of profound cognitive shutdown.
Okay, so we've looked at the immune system, we've looked at stress hormones, and we've looked at our sleep cycles. Now it's time to put all of these clues together and really see the bigger picture of what's causing all this brain fog.
So, what have you really learned here? The big takeaway is that brain fog isn't the disease itself. It's better to think of it like a smoke alarm. It's a signal, a symptom, telling you that your brain is struggling to cope with a combination of stressors, whether they're inflammatory, hormonal, or from your lifestyle. It's a multifaceted problem that comes at you from all these different directions.
So let's line up the main suspects we've unmasked in our little investigation. First, we have the internal fire of neuroinflammation, often kicked off by an illness. Then we've got the relentless hormonal pressure of chronic high cortisol from stress. And finally, we have the modern-day disruption of our ancient biological clocks through terrible sleep habits and that really severe sleep inertia. Sometimes they act alone, but more often than not, they team up against us.
And all of this leaves us with a pretty provocative thought to end on. You know, when you really consider our modern world, with its 24/7 connectivity, its high-pressure demands, and our constant exposure to new bugs and viruses, you really have to wonder, is this feeling of a cognitive haze no longer just an occasional annoyance, but maybe an emerging fundamental feature of 21st century life? What do you think?